forward with the Biz with Dr. Kambiz. I have my guest here, John Rockefeller.
Hey, everybody.
John is a lawyer, an epidemiologist, a philanthropist, and all around man of many talents. We're going to hear about John's work and life, and this is a casual conversation. It's a chance for me to learn about my guests. We have just started the series, and thank you, John, so much for being one of our first guests.
That's good. So I can't go wrong. I don't have anything to back me up.
John, one thing I want to ask you, I notice you and also a lot of your friends and colleagues, some people refer to you as John, some people refer to you as Jack. What's the story behind that?
At the Clinton Foundation, well, the Clinton Health Access Foundation had so many Johns. I mean, it was just crazy. So I said, well, why don't you do what Kennedy did? Let's go with Jack.
Yeah.
So that's how it happened.
Oh, I didn't realize.
You heard it here.
John F. Kennedy also would also go by Jack.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And people don't know about this, but my grandfather had mules, and one of them was Jack and the other one was Jill. So I guess that's a second feature of being Jack.
Nice. John, I'd like to start first with asking you about medical research, philanthropy, and what's your philosophy when it comes to advancing medical science through charitable giving?
I think this is a good question, because everybody's standing in corners. Everybody's looking out, and as the research funding just goes quickly, when there's a president that doesn't want research funding, it's just unbelievable that they can't come together. I mean, we used to have the universities. We had Johns Hopkins, we had Stanford, we had Harvard, we had Dartmouth, all these places. They brought all the big money and research funding into the university, and the university has huge amounts of donors and board members who have billions of dollars, but nobody's giving any money to anything. And we have to get back to that. That has to be exactly how we got here. And then it turns into a pharma thing. I mean, it's a pharma thing over here. It's the universities here, and it's a lot of people getting a lot of money and then none. And you have to put it all together. You cannot just have this over here and this over here and this over here. And honestly, universities have a really bad rap. And I just, every time I look at all the endowments that I've been working on, and nobody will put any money in anymore. It seems in the last year, a really huge thing happens. It's people over there, people over there, people up there, people down there, and they don't come together like they used to. And I think we have to do a much better job. And I don't think it should be politicized.
And do you mean, I know you're a big fan of collaboration too. Do you mean collaboration among different groups, or even within one organization, the different stakeholders?
Right. You can do a lot of different stakeholders groups, but when you get somebody with, well, take like Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation. Gordon Moore, I talked to Gordon Moore quite a bit. I was working with Gordon Moore, and I said, well, what's Moore's Law? And he said, Moore's Law is coming up with every possible article, JAMA, every possible article on medicine. And he said, you have to get it all together, and that's where the download comes. And that's why I don't fear when I go away. And he did go away, but he certainly didn't. Oh, God, isn't it amazing that Gordon Moore and Harvey Feinberg, who took over, even they are over to the side now because everybody just splintered off. I'm not a fan of people splintering off and waiting for somebody else to do it. We have to not do somebody else.
Mhm.
We have to put it together.
And for someone wanting to get a job in philanthropy, to be a fundraiser or a development director, what are the qualities you think are important, or what would you look for if you were hiring someone?
I would look for 5 PhDs, 2 master's degrees, things like that. I mean, I went to RISD, I went to CCAC, I was a painter, I was all these crazy things. And after the crazy period, I went to Hopkins and I got really strong backing academically. But you have to live first. You can't just get an MBA and have a 23-year-old trying to do something with philanthropy. I would say don't do anything except these splintered things, but really good things to do academically. You do that up until you're 30 years old, and then you start thinking about an MBA. And
So
then
really
you put
rich
something
life.
together. Yeah. Yeah, I took off, let's see, when was that? Well, I won't even tell you the year. I actually I had a guitar. I had a Martin D35 and I had $6,320. I just cashed out of everything. And my family said, "You're an absolute idiot. What are you doing with this?" And don't tell Henry Kaiser III that I'm going to tell about his story. He and I were, well, Henry Kaiser was a messenger at Thalen, Mara, Johnson and Bridges, and I was a clerk at Thalen, Mara, Johnson and Bridges. And Bechtel was in the corner office after he got out of Stanford. And we used to just go out and, try to brainstorm all these things. And Henry Kaiser said, "I'm going to just be a guitarist." And I thought, yeah, I got to go over across the bay to Berkeley and do art. And I actually went there, and I went there to the art schools in San Francisco. And I didn't know where Henry Kaiser was. You have to see. We'll post all of this stuff. He made a bunch of films and he has about 60 albums, and he was in Antarctica with his guitar playing with Werner Herzog. You got to see this film. And that's how you become a better Kaiser. He said, "I don't want any of my dad's money. I don't want any of that money. I want to go get an education. I want to go get some arts thing." And both of us said, "Yeah, let's do that." I think a lot of the people there just put on a suit and they go 40 years and then they quit. But it's really interesting that may be what happens now. And I think if we do have that, once again, do art for 10 years, do whatever you want, learn how to be an electronic motor driven car. And all of that stuff can come into play in 10 years, and then you're going to have all the people coming together. And that's where the philanthropists would see that as a really excellent idea.
So life experience is important.
It has to be. I mean, it really has to be. If you don't have life experiences, that's the problem. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of problems in that. We won't tell all of them.
Speaking of your life experiences, and it's fascinating. You have a career as a lawyer as well as an epidemiologist. And speaking of some of your life experiences, two of the most interesting ones outside of science to me have been your roles in Ireland and also with Nelson Mandela. Can you describe some of
Yeah,
this work?
yeah, that's why I went over there. When I got out of law school and all of these crazy law firms with really button down shirts and things like that, I just thought, here's how it happened. My girlfriend was a ballet dancer in New York City. She broke about 50 bones in her ankle. And I met the dean of the law school that I went to, and she was on the couch at his house. We were good friends, and we had a little courtship. And she was going to visit her mother on a plane and sat right next to a lovely couple from Dublin. And his father, this guy on the plane that she was talking to, his father was the head of the law department at Trinity College, Dublin. So I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. So we invited them over to dinner in San Francisco, and we had this really great conversation. And then I thought, God, I had to go over there and get an advanced law degree in Dublin. So I did it. I mean, I just thought, well, she also was a famous ballet dancer at the Irish National Ballet. She didn't like it too much because it was freezing cold in Ireland. But I met Kader Asmal. I mean, it was unbelievable. That was the starting piece for me going to Dublin to get a kind of a free, I think I only had to pay like £300 a quarter. Mm-hmm. And I got an LLM, and Kader Asmal was the head of the law school. And I didn't know that Kader Asmal was the chief justice minister in Nelson Mandela's. His entire country was in that prison, and he got out. And so they went back and forth with the prison that Nelson Mandela was in. And Kader Asmal gave me this thing that I had to do in Belfast. And I was looking at this as I was on a train trying to go through the border. And everything was blowing up. I mean, it was the IRA and the Orange Men. And I had to be strip searched. I had to, I mean, everything was going to hell. I got bombed in a train. And I just thought, God, this is amazing. This is kind of what Mandela was doing. And that's how I got started. I mean, it just got started. And I eventually went across from Ireland to, it was first Amsterdam, second Canada, a lot of these places that nobody really knew about at that point in time. And it was the engine for all the academics were right on Churchill College, Cambridge, and Sir Herman Bondi, the major mathematician who found the way to break the codes for all the Nazi submarines. So it was a great story, and see what happens when you do a drawing. Somebody gets on a plane. Somebody has a father over here. Nelson Mandela comes up.
Amazing.
It's an incredible story. I haven't heard that story in my mind forever and ever.
Mm-hmm. Going back to philanthropy, one of the organizations you've been associated with is Clinton Health Access Initiative. Can you describe their work and what were you doing at this group?
I was trying to do an impact fund. It was, I mean, I just thought, well, yeah, let's do an impact fund. But, when you're together and you don't want to do something from outside, an impact fund is not something you should try. We tried for years and years to get an impact fund. But some of the people at the top of the food chain said, no, don't do that. Let's do it inside. And I'm just thinking, that's why we do it, is to get it inside, right? So it just beat me to death trying to get an impact fund together. And it really was kind of what happens to Gates, and it happens to the Wellcome Trust, and it happened to DFID at that point in time. And they were outside of that organization. And that was the only way we could get money. And we got huge amounts of money from the people that were outside, but they wouldn't let us do it inside.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And you mentioned a lot of funds you were involved in raising came from the Arab Gulf states like UAE and Saudi.
Right.
How can you comment on that? How is philanthropy from these Gulf states impacting research in the U.S.?
At that point in time, it was the Sultan of Brunei. I was working with Alexander King and Herman Bondi in the Club of Rome. You can look it up. I mean, it's that old. And they went to the Sultan of Brunei. I thought, wow, sure, I'll go. They gave me a ticket, and I got off the plane, and it was just burning hot. And then they had all these kind of trappings of the Sultan of Brunei. I mean, I'd read about him, and he was way beyond Dubai. He was way beyond UAE. I mean, he had that kind of money, and he had it in droves. And that's what kind of fed the UAE. And I would suggest you were there at a really good time also.
And I've heard you mention the Club of Rome a number of times. What is that group? What does it do?
It takes huge amounts of money. There's Japan. We paved the Silk Road, right? I didn't even know what the Silk Road was. I mean, I went back and was reading about the Silk Road, and they paved it. But it was a really good idea because you couldn't get anywhere on camels with a lot of things, and they laid down tracks, and they had really good luck with not having a plague follow the bodies of water, and it really was just countries, and that was an amazing thing. I was in Europe, and somebody said, "Hey, let's go with the Swire group, and you can go to Hong Kong, and we'll try to have it based then." And I thought, I don't know, where did we get the money? Well, the Swire group gave us all the money we had. And everything went back and forth I used to go every week, London to Singapore, London to Hong Kong, London to Tokyo. And I had to do that for 7 years. It was incredible, and it gave a lot of funding came from these countries. You would not think that now. I mean, look at the countries. The countries are giving none of those philanthropic things. That is what we have to get back to. We really, if we're going to be friends, let's be friends and throw it all in the pot. And you can do the things like this, paving the Silk Road. I thought it was kind of a joke, but it really wasn't.
And also, you've been engaged at initiatives at Johns Hopkins and Dartmouth. Can you describe some of the work you've been involved in with these places?
I was working on the Rising to the Challenge campaign. It's a 7-year campaign with $7.2 billion coming in. That was the last time I've seen that kind of money at Hopkins. And it was great. I mean, it was amazing. So everybody came from Dartmouth trying to seduce me into coming to Dartmouth. And then I went to Dartmouth, and they were looking around for a faculty appointment. So the faculty appointment was in psychiatry. And I'm just thinking, psychiatry? I mean, I was an infectious disease epidemiologist. I mean, okay. I mean, if that's what you need for me to come to be a dean at Dartmouth. And then the poor guy, a lot of people kind of passed away during that period of time, and I just thought, wow, this is crazy. I got to get out of here.
Mhm.
So I went to Clinton Health Access Initiative right after Dartmouth, but we did a lot of work on mental health, and nobody was doing mental health funding, period.
Yeah, and that
So that's the big thing, was mental health.
it reminds me, at one time you were also involved in these private care houses for people with mental health as an alternative to hospitalization, where there'd be a lot of staff taking care of individuals. Can you describe that? It's a very fascinating treatment option.
It really is, but the price tag was $37,000 a month.
Mm.
I have to preface it like that.
And how long
There,
would a patient be under treatment?
they're still there.
Yep. So
They
long term.
usually have housemates. They have housemates who grow old together with these mentally ill people.
Mhm.
And it would be so great if you didn't have to fund it to that level. You could probably just do it on campus and off campus things very easily if you had that kind of money.
So these
But
are
it's
houses, right? Where X number of people are living long term, and how each house has how many people living there, would you say?
generally three people and the person who was being treated. So it was like 3 to 4 people. And when you do that, they cook dinner, and in the morning they go to the coffee shop and sit outside. And it started for me in Northampton, Massachusetts,
Hmm.
and it was great. I mean, we had 30 some houses, so we rented them or we bought them,
All in
and
that area.
all in that zip code, period.
Hmm.
And it was great. And oh man, uh, this will sound funny, but it was the people who were trying to help the person who they thought was ill. The person who they thought was ill was much better than the people that were trying to treat them.
Yeah.
And so they got a really good benefit from that. I mean, it was amazing. And now they're psychiatry people.
That's amazing. And so this model has it expanded to more zip codes, or is it still
Yeah,
central? Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, I had a billionaire fund it. And I didn't know that this person was a billionaire, and I didn't know that the offspring of that billionaire was in Northampton in this house.
Hmm.
And it turned out that they had some pretty good people with him.
Hmm.
And then I got the money and I went to San Luis Obispo in California. And we did the same thing there. And then we went to Portland, Oregon. And I'm not sure, I haven't looked lately, but I think it's probably up in Seattle also.
Very interesting. John, what are your thoughts about, you mentioned how different groups are not coming together. What are your thoughts about what will it take to get um, a lot of interest galvanized behind medical research, medical philanthropy today, with where we are with NIH funding, with philanthropic funding? Where if it was up to you, what do you think should come next?
I think we should have four pieces in the United States. I think you put these academic institutions together. These four regions. It's very simple because you have the Northeast region, the Midwest region, the whatever you're going to do. It's pretty much four places where you put that money, and that money forces people to be those mavens of really good funding and really good research. You can't just do it by putting it in Mayo.
Mhm.
or putting it at Harvard, or putting it at Hopkins, or putting it at Stanford, and putting it at UW. I mean, all of these places have that, but you can bolster that. Can you imagine how great you could bolster that? I mean, the West Coast, the East Coast, and two other Midwest and South. And
Mhm.
I look at it every day. I've got a map on the wall, and I keep thinking we have to do all of this, but we have to put it together in four pieces.
Right.
And when you do that, you don't have to worry about philanthropy. And the philanthropists will all come to you if you do that.
Mhm. One other career type question. What do you think is the difference between a CEO in a philanthropic organization versus a chief development officer?
I'm not a big fan of development, really. I mean, people who were in the development space, this CFRE thing. I mean, come on. I mean, you really want to try to put somebody in the top of the food chain with that? You can't do that. I would suggest you have an art degree, an MBA. Let's see. I got a Bachelor of Science in Political Science, Master's and Doctorate in Public Health, MBA, and Advanced Management, and all in different places.
Mhm.
Penn, well, the Wharton School, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Arizona State, and the rest Johns Hopkins.
Mhm.
But there's a lot, but there's RISD and there's CCAC and all those places. I have all of these. That's Joseph Boys. That's Richard Diebenkorn. Now, there's so many. You should come here and see the art and the academia.
Yeah, it's amazing. Let me share a couple of photos that I ask everyone to send me pictures that are somehow meaningful, and I select a few to for us to walk and talk through. Let me share a couple of these and ask you about them. So there's two actually that are related. There's this one where you're in some kind of a moving cage wagon, and this one I think are from the same place or period, right? What
Yeah.
are what are these? What is this? Where are
This is
you?
a this is a ghost town. Uh, it's been used as a film for Josie Wales, Chisholm. John Wayne has done his films in this place right outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico. And the most interesting part of this is that one of the top guys that I helped set up in Northampton, he was one of the premier people that he got put into these homes with these people that they had not huge amount of mental health problem, but this guy was a film uh, director and producer, and he made a really he had a, I can't remember what the award was, probably probably an Oscar, a sub Oscar or something because of HIV. We can put this in our follow up, but he put me in there, and he I have this dog in there also.
Yeah.
You gotta see that dog. He's great. He's just sitting in there thinking he's cool. And there's so many.
There
Yeah,
he
there
is.
he is. There he is. Yeah, I didn't look too happy. I was trying not to look happy because
So this
I
is
guess I looked too happy.
so it's actually a real ghost town, and these
Yeah.
places exist. They're sprinkled around here and there.
Yeah, there's a yeah, there's a couple of nooses hanging around town too.
Wow. And no one actually lives here. It's just for movie
Right.
sets now. And if you drove up, you could go and take a stroll through it.
Yeah, you can go into the bar. There was an old pool table in there, and it was great.
Wow.
It was great. When I let that damn dog out, the dog was just barking all over the place, trying to find animals in the desert or something. I'm just thinking, where's that dog?
Yeah.
So I had to cage the dog, and there's the dog's back of his head.
And this is in the same ghost town.
Yeah, that was where the sheriff sat.
Mm-hmm. And this is a letter from Bill Clinton. What's this about?
That's about me being the CEO of the California Autism Foundation, which was a really good thing. They had a chocolate company. They made really good money themselves. They didn't have to go buy it.
Mm-hmm. What were you doing for the California Autism Society?
Nobody really gave a damn about autism at that period, in that period of time. That was like 2015. And there weren't very many autism foundations. It was probably one or two, but not many. And Clinton was probably the first to sign a letter like that.
Mm-hmm. And what's this one?
That one was in Nairobi that was Nairobi National Park. We stayed in National Park. I'm trying to think of, well, Lee Emke, who I went to school with, was the director of the Bronx Zoo, a director of every possible zoo and wildlife area.
You went together.
Minnesota, yeah. And then
collecting animals on the trip?
No, they looked at habitat, and he had all these great habitat constructors. Mm-hmm. It was wild. It was the Bronx Zoo. That was one of the first places that was a thing. It was it was amazing going there, and just, that's a little tiny Jeep, Suzuki Jeep. And there were a few lions right next to the door. I was gonna get out of the car and take a leak. And I was thinking, no, don't get out of the car.
And in this photo, you really look like you're absorbing it and appreciating all the nature.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And that was when Idi Amin was there. Mm-hmm. I was amazed that we didn't get put in one of those cages.
And what's this photo? It looks like it doesn't look like a storm, but it does look like a storm too.
No, it's kind of like Bridge of Sighs. It's right outside the house here. Mm-hmm. It's on Camelback in the mountains, Sawtooth Mountains above Boise. Mm-hmm. It was just really wild because it was 4 a.m, and I just had my camera with me, and I just looked at it and I thought, wow, that's epic for me.
And right now you live in Idaho, right?
Yeah.
Why did you call Idaho home? You've lived in so many places around the world and the country.
Yeah, my grandfather was a junk dealer, and he would collect all this really great junk when I was a child. Mm-hmm. And my father was overseas. He was probably a clandestine guy. I don't know where. He never told us what he did. Mm-hmm. But I have all of these little trinkets and toys around here that I got from my grandfather giving me a box and saying, if you give this guy a quarter, you can fill up the box. And I'm thinking, man, that is a great bargain, a quarter. And he gives it to me. So that was him. If you want later on, you can put up the picture of the pigeons and my dad when he was 3 years old.
Very cool. John, before we say goodbye, is there anything you want to share, any contact information? How do people get in touch with you? I'll tag you. Is LinkedIn a good way to get in touch, or what anything you want to share?
Yeah, you can put put a box someplace, and we'll try to figure out how we can start the next wave, because we have to get together. We have to figure this out.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for joining me today. It was great to have you.
Good. Glad it wasn't disappointing.